everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm but one of your hosts. And joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre and friend who returned from Ohio last week, Mr. Joe Lieber. Joe, how's it going, pal?
Ohio, Jimmy.
Oh,
Ohio. Get it? Yeah.
I walked right into it. Why? Why? Oh, why do I do this to myself? Anyway, sorry about that. I just had a little existential crisis. That's okay. Joe, how are you doing though? You're good?
Good. Been about a hot minute there, pal, since we talked last.
I like that the term hot minute is just something you could use for like literally a minute. It could be an hour, it could be a month, it could be a year. You'd be like, it's only a hot minute. I like the term though. It's a good term.
Yeah, I don't necessarily get it, but whatever.
Yeah. So for anybody joining us for the very first time, thank you so much. We talk about TV shows, movies, games, all the stuff we love so very, very dearly. If you couldn't tell by if you're watching us, all the cool stuff, like Arcanine here, Star Wars, Bleach, Assassin's Creed, all this stuff, love it all. But anyway, thank you to all of our Legionnaires who are returning as always. But Joe, before we get into all that good stuff, let's start with some news here. So Wonder Woman. We talked about Wonder Woman recently on a podcast, but about an hour and a half about just why we love Wonder Woman. We just went back and forth. The one thing that was concerning about it is that the director, Patty Jenkins, wasn't signed on for sure to be the director of Wonder Woman 2. Thankfully, there was an interview, Variety, Jeff Johns, who's kind of like the Kevin Feige of, DC. If you don't know who Kevin Feige is, he's kind of like a creative director at Marvel and all those movies, but for DC. And Jeff Johns, he said the following: Patty and I are writing the treatment right now. The goal is to make another great Wonder Woman film. I had a blast making it with Patty the first time. We've got a cool idea for the second one. So, Joe, how do you feel about that news?
I feel good. I feel like 70% of Wonder Woman's success was the fact that it had a lot of female input. I think that helped make it more successful and more in tune with the emotional effects, if you know what I mean. Not that women are more emotional. Oh, let's face it, they're more in tune with emotions, right? They get feelings and how to tap into that sort of thing with an audience, and I think that really showed in this movie, despite it being a superhero movie, but it had all different vibes going for it. There wasn't just the action and the fighting and the superpower-esque crap. It was I didn't mean to use the word crap, but the superpower focus. It was more. It had multiple facets to it that really engaged the audience beyond just the fact that it was superhero movie type stuff. But it's a good move. She did a good job with the first one. I can't expect much less for the second one. And them saying that they have some good ideas for the sequel is music to my ears. I hope they truly are good ideas. So.
Yeah, I'm hopeful too. I looked at that today and I thought, oh, thank goodness, because if DC could screw anything up, especially something that this was such a success, kind of hit it out of the park and finally has a lot of goodwill garnered for, kind of Justice League and all the things going forward. I think it's so good to make sure Patty Jenkins comes back and to renegotiate a contract or whatever and make sure that she gets, her due, because I think they didn't really think Wonder Woman is going to be much of a success. So they didn't really give her as much as normal, would be for some of these other crazy kind of big superhero films. So
how dare they?
Yeah. Another thing kind of alongside that, and this is more of a rumor right now, but Justice League, obviously, because of Zack Snyder stepping away from family reasons, is doing a bunch of reshoots right now, which will go into September. The movie comes out in November. Seems kind of close, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
A lot of the rumors going around, though, Joe, is that maybe that they might be putting more Wonder Woman scenes in there now, or just adding more things of Wonder Woman, which I think should have been a focus from the beginning, maybe. But now, after her success, it would be kind of sad to watch Justice League and have her take a back seat to the film and think like, okay, like, why was Wonder Woman's great? Why is she sitting in the back the whole time? Like, she should be like in the trailer. She's like right up front and center. So do you think that's like a good idea? Put more Wonder Woman in there?
Well, I was also okay with it because, with her taking a bit more of a backseat to Batman and Superman, because it kept a little bit of that mystery, that mysterious feel about her. So then when they came out with her standalone, it made it all that more alluring, right? You wanted to know more, sort of a deal, more background, more reasons behind why she acts the way she does, or things she does, etc. So I was okay with that, and I think for this next one, you talk about that. Are they going to reshoot and maybe make her more of a front lead feature? I mean, we knew she was going to be a big part of it, but do they bolster it even more and maybe make her, the equivalent to Marvel's Iron Man? Iron Man's kind of the staple pinpoint on everything for Marvel. He started it off, and having him featured in any movie automatically makes the movie bump up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So are they kind of taking that approach with Wonder Woman? Do we think that'll be successful? I don't know. Is the entire draw for her with the success? Possibly. Is there enough allure to Wonder Woman as the character and the character they've created? Is there enough allure there to really bolster, the interest in the upcoming movies? Maybe. What do you think?
I think if anybody were to do that role, they would probably take like Batman, Ben Affleck, and put him kind of in that Tony Starkish style of role of like, oh, you can just show up in every movie, kind of crop up. I think just for Justice League, they'll probably try to promote her a little bit better because right now it seems like the focal point will probably be introducing Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, but then they also don't want her to fall to the wayside. And then eventually when Superman shows up, it's a crowded film to kind of just throw together and, say go. So I don't know if she'll be like somebody that's popping up in every film. I think they just probably looked at it and said, hey, and if this could be completely just conjecture at this point, but if they said like, hey, there's not enough Wonder Woman in here, and a lot of people might say, like for Batman vs Superman, they'll say like, oh yeah, she was the best part of that movie. Let's bolster her and make sure that she is a pillar of this film as opposed to just, an accent or just like a little garnish to it, as it were, kind of make her be more of a mainstay. And I think a lot of that dialogue between her and Bruce Wayne and the potential romance that could come for those two, I think that'll hopefully make, both of them kind of the two main characters of this film while they're introducing these other ones at the same time. So I don't know. I'm hopeful. I just want more Wonder Woman in there. I think it's not a bad thing. But heck, if they get Chris Pine back in there, I don't care how they do it. Just bring him back. He would be great. Yeah, that's all I think.
You really liked him, huh?
I thought he was good. I always like Chris Pine, and I think he played off Gal Gadot really well. So
yeah. I mean, I know he was good and all. I wonder. I wouldn't mind him coming back in the future to one of the films, but I'm not sure
standalone.
How. I'm not sure how.
Flash goes back in time, grabs him. I don't know why he would grab him instead of anyone else.
But then they would change anything and everything that happened since that time.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do, Joe. When this all goes belly up, they'll just do Flashpoint. He'll go back and screw something up, and it'll just change everything. It'll be new Ben Affleck. Like, Ben Affleck will be, I'll be new Batman. They'll just change it all up, and they'll just be like, oh, it's just Flashpoint. Don't worry about it. That's my guess. Anyway, Joe, I've got some other news for you that might make you giggle with glee. I don't know.
Just lay it on me, pal. Lay it on me.
Venom may or may not be in the MCU. There's a really good chance that he's going to pop in there. I can't believe it. Amy Pascal, during an interview while she was sitting right alongside Kevin Feige, she had said this. She said about Venom and about, I think, Silver Sable and Black Cat. She said, they're all playing in the world we are creating for Peter Parker. They will be adjuncts to it. It may be different locations, but it will still all be in the same world, and they will be connected to each other as well. Which apparently was news to Kevin Feige because he's sitting right next to her during this interview, and I guess you could see on his face, you can kind of, from what I've seen too, he was kind of like what? Like, because he's gone on record saying in the past, Venom is Sony's own thing, nothing to do with us. We kind of have a tight ship we're running here at Marvel, and we can't just have, people just like, oh, you make a movie and that could completely throw off the mythos of what we've built so far. But still, if Venom is in the MCU, I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah, heck yeah. Venom featured alongside some of the great characters of the MCU. What can be bad about that?
Yeah. It's just funny the way that they kind of talked about it, and I'm hopeful that's the case because people were making jokes. They're like, oh, well, Tom Hardy, Tom Hiddleston is Loki, and Tom Holland, so we've got like that, and then we also have 3 Chris's, so we're getting a lot of trios in here. But I would love to see Venom, play off of some of these other characters, especially with, it's so hard to do that without Peter Parker and Spider-Man, if you're going to do like an Eddie Brock Venom. If you're doing an Agent Venom, again, I get it. But right now, it just seems like, why wouldn't you? I think Kevin Feige and the people over at Marvel are a little concerned about that comment, though, because right now they were thinking, hey, we already have our movies we're set up with, but now there are some outlying factors that say they're definitely a part of this universe. Do you feel like that was like a concern for Control?
A little bit, contractual obligations, dollar profit sharing sort of a deal. There's a lot of stuff downstream of a statement like that.
Oh, for
If
sure.
you want it to be tied to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, more things have to be shared than just the on-screen references.
Oh, for sure.
There's
Yeah.
also the business side of it. So,
Yeah.
maybe not so much the whole them being integrated and related to that universe. I think that's perfectly doable. I don't think that would startle Kevin Feige. I think that's something that maybe they should jump at the opportunity anyway. If Sony's down to do it, then by all means. But there has to be some other stuff that would raise concern that they would need to work out and say, well, if we're going to do this, you realize that,
For sure. And I'm sure there's a lot of like writers, there's probably like a think tank that's making sure that this story, and Kevin Feige himself is probably like this, he's got this whole tapestry woven in his mind. And then someone says like, hey, actually there's some other strings in here you didn't know that you had. It's like, oh, wait, that kind of throws off a few things. It's not as big of a deal as if they were to say, we're taking like an alien race out of here, or we're adding in this new element that would completely destroy what you've made so far. But the fact that they would have rogue elements, I think, kind of makes Marvel nervous, where they're like, we've done such a good job of making this work, and kind of like, we don't want anyone like Sony to come in and screw it all up. I think that's the biggest concern. Like, it's like, please don't Amazing Spider-Man this, please.
Yeah.
So, yeah, either way, I think it would be cool. I also would love to see Tom Hardy be in and amongst all these other actors. I think he's pretty good, and I'd also just love to see Venom be a threat to the Avengers. That'd be great.
Yeah, or team up with the Avengers.
Uneasy alliance, baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, what a lot of that probably has to do, just last final side note on this, a lot of it might have to do with Infinity War, and that they were probably thinking if they were going to introduce the symbiote at any time, that would be the best spot to do it. Like when Spidey's probably in space, and if he's not, and they're not going to introduce it there, they're probably thinking, well, how the heck are we going to, like, do you do Spider-Man 3? It's like a little comet or a meteor that just hits New York, and then it just crawls out, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, plain and simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Meteor shot to Earth, and lo and behold, it was carrying the symbiote.
Yeah. Well, I don't care how we get Venom in there. I just would love to see, a good Venom. That's all I want to see. Either way, just execution.
Yeah.
And the last bit of news, Joe, I want to talk about, and we'll probably get to it a little bit later, maybe too, and something else, tease. But Black Panther trailer dropped recently. It was kind of like while you were gone, but you just watched it right now. I want to get your thoughts on it, man. How do you feel about this film from just the first look?
Black Panther teaser trailer. It was, I don't know. I don't know a lot about Black Panther and the character, so I don't know what to think quite yet. The teaser trailer is exactly what it says it is. It's a bit of a teaser. It doesn't divulge too many details. It looked good, and when you see the Black Panther, how can you not go like, man, that's a sexy looking, suit
totally.
and all that. But there seems to be a lot of political features to this, but I don't know. I don't have much to go on. I liked it. I did like it. It looks cool. There's some cool sequences that they show off in the jungle. Looks like something down a city street. Just some cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, I can't give it a rating, or I can say it amped me up a little bit, because it surely did. And it looks like not only is there the Black Panther, but there's some other characters featured here that are kind of, I don't want to say too similar, but some sort of Wakanda mercenaries type people.
Yeah. I think so. We're obviously seeing return of, I forget if they call him Claw eventually, but Andy Serkis, the character from Avengers 2, who Ultron cut off his arm when he got angry at him, and he's in the beginning. He's like, "Have you, what do you tell me what you know about Wakanda?" Fun little thing about that show, if you think about it for a second, him and Martin Freeman back together again as Gollum and Bilbo, back from
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. I was like, oh, so they have like a rapport. I would love to just sit in that room and listen to them talk again because of the probably one of the best sequences in the entirety of the Hobbit films. But him talking about kind of Wakanda being a front for all this, which, by the way, the trailer's down below, so you should definitely watch that if you want to know what we're talking about. But
Yeah.
I like that whole thing. There's a term that I've been hearing passed around a lot, Afrofuturism, talking about kind of mixing the culture and the history of Africa with this kind of new space agey tech. And it's
they show off a spaceship and stuff. So yeah. You're right. You're hitting it on the head there.
And I think it's really cool. I think it's an apt description. And I think Wakanda being this kind of, I like the thought too of it being like a front where everyone's like, it's just like a third world country and it hasn't been a big deal right now. But behind, closed doors or behind these geographical obstructions like waterfalls or mountains, there's like this futuristic city because they have this vibranium, because in the comics, I believe it's a meteor that struck there and there's like the biggest supply of it on the planet. And they just became, just like a powerhouse, but they were kind of closed off to the rest of the world. They're like, we don't want to deal with you. And I think that's why the song is really fitting, because they talk and like step into the spotlight. And it's a lot of T'Challa being the first like Black Panther and the first king of Wakanda to actually step out and say, hey, I know my dad was starting this back in Civil War, but we can't just sit by any longer. We need to share what we know with the rest of the world. We need to protect it. And the best way to protect our citizens is to help the world. So I'm hoping that's what one of the biggest messages is in this whole thing. But I don't know. I'm really excited about it. I thought the song was perfect. I thought Black Panther looks cool. He's got multiple suits in this one. There's one where he's kind of fighting in the jungle, which I'm assuming will be a Predator sequence show, kind of like from Predator.
Very Predator-esque for sure.
I was like, yes, it's a Predator scene. And then like a dude went flying into the car and I'm like, it is a Predator scene. And then later on when he's jumping on the cars and he's kind of a different suit. The one thing that did make me concerned, I'm hoping that car sequence isn't like the final thing in the film. I'm sure it isn't. I'm sure it's not the finale or the final set piece, but I don't want to see Civil War set piece again, because we've already seen Black Panther like jumping from car to car, and he does kind of like a shockwave in this one. There's like a purple kind of explosion-y thing, but I don't want to see too much of the same stuff, because he's such a cool character, and I think getting him out and doing different things with him will be much more beneficial. So.
Yeah, I think a bit of the thought might be that it was such a cool sequence, an action sequence that really showed him off well. I think the thought may be that they'll want to, show that again. So
yeah. Side note: every time I see that trailer for Atomic Blonde, where James McAvoy gets introduced, I think they're in like the same tunnel as that Civil War car chase, and she kind of wrecks her car there too. And I was like, every time I go there, I'm like, this is like, I'm sure it's a cool sequence, but I keep thinking Civil War. I'm like, it's so cool. We're like, it's like Bucky, Cap, Black Panther, like Black Panther's in between them. They're all just chasing each other.
Yeah. Like, well, where was that? Was that based in London? Is that
Germany? I don't know if it was Berlin, because I know Leipzig is where they do the big fight, but I think Berlin is where they held the Sokovia Accords, like the peace treaty stuff, the ratification. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just really excited for this film. I'm excited to see I like Andy Serkis. I'm not sure about Martin Freeman's character. There have been kind of rumors that he could potentially, because his last name is Ross, be potentially Red Hulk down the line, even though we have a Thunderbolt Ross, which is typically Red Hulk. I don't know if we'll ever see that come to light of day, but I think there's a cool cast here and a lot of cool actors like Michael B. Jordan, who was formerly the Human Torch from the last Fantastic Four back in 2015. Not much dissimilar to Chris Evans, who was the Fantastic Four Human Torch years ago.
How will he be featured, Jimmy?
He's going to be, I think, one of the villains. I forget his name, but he's kind of, I think you see him like pull out two swords. He's kind of got crazy, like off to the side hair and stuff. It seems like there's a lot of tribes vying for the kingship in Wakanda. So I'm thinking a lot of it will be infighting as well, which is cool. And yeah, I'm just the hierarchy, it'll kind of remind me, I think, a little bit of the beginning sequences of Man of Steel with Krypton, like kind of getting a gist of what this society is like. And I think that's going to be really cool because you're going to look at a society that's based in history and cut off from the rest of the world and saying, probably trying to counsel, a new king, T'Challa, like, hey, you shouldn't do this or you should do this. Like, we need to help these people. You can't, you're going to hurt the rest of us if you do this. It's going to be kind of cool. I think it'll be kind of compelling. So, and sure. I love the actor they got for him. He was like one of my favorite things about Civil War. I was like, this guy's like spot on. And he learned a lesson.
As per usual, good casting, right?
Good casting, good music. Marvel just every time, man. Can you believe there's a Black Panther movie being made, Joe? Like, isn't that great? Like, that's incredible. I'm just so happy that it exists. Like,
well, I think from an aesthetic point of view and a marketing point of view, I think it was bound to happen. I think he's a very marketable character.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I can believe it, but.
Sure. I think it just took time just because they had to kind of get Avengers and everybody off the ground first. But then we have that Ant-Man, Guardians. Some of these things are just so strange, or even Doctor Strange, too. It's just like, man, I can't believe they actually made like a full-fledged movie. And like people are going to know these characters now, these characters that weren't as well known. I'd say Black Panther is pretty well known, but I think it's just cool to see him get a treatment because there's respect and love going into this. And that's what I love to see because Black Panther is like, he's like Batman and Iron Man, but also a king. Yeah, which I really like. I like, and I love that he learned something in Civil War. He's kind of like, vengeance isn't going to consume me and all that stuff. I thought that was really cool. So
yeah, he kind of, a little enlightenment at the end of Civil War. That was appropriate. And
yeah, I also wonder, he's supposed to be really, really intelligent. He's like, I forget if he's like self-proclaimed like 12th or 8th smartest person on the planet. I'm not sure if they'll play into that as much in these films, but it'd be really cool because on top of all the stuff, the tech and, the powers and and being a king, that he's also very, very smart, which would be nice because a lot of superheroes we know, not that they're idiots, but they make a lot of like dumb decisions. And you're like, if you would just think about this for like 5 seconds, it'd be better. But I don't know. We'll see if that plays a part. Yeah. So Black Panther. Can't wait. February. Come on now. Let's go.
Coming in hot.
Coming in hot. All right, Joe. You know what's not coming in hot? Today's main topic. Oh boy. All right, Joe. We're gonna talk about The Mummy. I know we're a little late on this, but Joe, did you see The Mummy?
I did not, unfortunately.
Okay. That's totally fine. I just want people to know, are you familiar with the plot? Because I'm happy to give you a quick rundown.
I am familiar with the plot. However, I want the quick rundown, and I want you give me the quick 20-second synopsis, and then let's get into some juicy details.
Sure. For anybody who's watching this right now, I've also done a review that you can check out right over here at any time, and which you might want to watch to preface what I'm about to say. But also, I will tell you, I will flip the spoiler switch, which is also over here, and then that way you'll know that spoilers are on. I will also say spoiler switch has been turned on. I'll make some noises, so don't worry. So if you haven't seen it yet and you're like, please don't ruin this film, I love it so much, which no one's probably saying that, but you never know. Maybe someone loves it. All right, here you go. Here's a really quick plot synopsis. Tom Cruise and Jake Johnson are in some sort of advanced recon unit, and they're in the military, but they also like to go and steal stuff, and they're like treasure hunters at the same time. They get into a skirmish, they open up a mummy tomb, they take the sarcophagus back, the plane crashes, both of them get cursed, and the mummy wreaks havoc, and they have to stop her. At the end.
So both of them get cursed, huh?
Yes, but yes. All right. Let me just say a few quick things, good and bad, about the film. Good. There could have been some. I think there are some good action moments in there. They don't shoot them very well. That's pretty rough. And there's a lot of, you can tell the budget. I'm a guy who likes to watch something, Joe, and I like to see the budget. I like to see that sweet, sweet cheddar. You know what I'm saying? Like the sets look good, the effects are pretty good, like everything's looking great. However, most of the characters are pretty forgettable. The plot's kind of it's not like I'm not mad, I'm just kind of disappointed at this point, so, which is too bad because there's a lot of money, and it's like the beginning of this whole dark universe thing, which has a cool logo. It's like Universal, Joe, it says like Universal, like the world, and then it like spins and it's like all dark. It's like dark universe. It's like, oh, that's pretty fun.
All right. So they did one thing right, but it wasn't the thing that really mattered. Huh?
Right at the beginning of the film, I was like, oh, I was like, there's some budget here. They're even making new logos. Jurassic World didn't really do that. They just did that weird like egg thing. Anyway, all right, Joe. I'm flipping on the spoiler switch. All right. Here are your
Sparks, look out, the sparks. You should have worn safety glasses.
Spoiler. Okay, they're both cursed. Jake Johnson gets bit by a camel spider. They all get, like, spiders kind of attack them at one point where they go to the sarcophagus. He gets bit. Tom Cruise is like, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Sadly, I know both their names. Tom Cruise plays Nick Morton, and I think Vile or some Vale is the name of Jake Johnson, the guy from New Girl. He gets bit, ends up dying or getting sick on the plane because they leave, they take the sarcophagus back. He like wakes up and he's like all like crazy looking, like he's got like one eye, it's all messed up, and then he stabs like their general. He like kills him, and then he tries to kill everybody else, and then Tom Cruise shoots him and he kills him. All right, he kills him, and then for the rest of the film, Jake Johnson shows up as a ghost that only Tom Cruise can see.
What?
Yeah, and guess what? It gets even worse. He's not even funny, and he's really horrible. And he just shows up, and he's like, "Oh, she's got plans for you, man." And you know, Tom Cruise is like, "Oh man, you look horrible," and he's like, "It's much worse for you." And it's like, no, it's not much worse for you, because Tom Cruise is like basically not invulnerable, but like blunt force trauma doesn't affect the man anymore. Like he's fine, which is good for Tom Cruise because that seems to be like a through line for all of his films. Like he's always smashing his head. But Jake Johnson will just show up. Like there's this really cool sequence where, and it looks like garbage because it's all CG'd up on top of the cool action set pieces. But like Tom Cruise jumps into a double-decker bus, Joe, in London that falls on its side, and Jake Johnson like shows up next to him after he like crashes through all this, and out of nowhere, just Jake Johnson, this ghostly apparition, is like, "That was pretty intense, right?" I was like, "What?" It was until you walked in here and you just, it's like, oh man. It's not very good, man. I just, there's some really cool stuff. There's cool things in this film. Apparently it took them 90 takes to do the airplane sequence. They did like zero gravity stuff, and they, like, Tom Cruise wanted to, everyone was like getting sick. They're all doing this, but they only use it for like 4 or 5 seconds of them like floating through the air. Like, it's so sad because there's like really good stuff. They blow up a building that Jake Johnson and Tom Cruise are standing on. You barely could tell. Like, Tom does all his own stunts in this, and it doesn't feel like they're legitimate, and that's what sucks. Because in Mission Impossible, every time he does a stunt, you know it's him, and they like pull back and they just focus on it. They're like, "Here it is. Tom is gonna die here, and we're all gonna watch it together." Like, it's so intense. It just, the movie didn't have any of that. And then on top of that, it's like there were some good horror aspects, which I know you would love, but because it was PG-13 and they wanted to make it more action adventure, they just didn't lean into it, which is really sad. Because there's like some kind of creepy stuff in this movie. I was like, oh, this could be a good horror movie. Didn't do it, Joe. It makes me sad. Yeah.
Okay. So, first of all, they're in the military. They're fighting war, but they still pillage, or they...
Yeah, so they like go around, and they're like in Iraq, but they like go to like villages to like scout it out. And then they're like looking at this village, and Tom Cruise's character is such a jerk. And he's like, "Hey, we should go down there and see if we could get some, you know, treasure or whatever." And Jake Johnson's like, "I don't know if we should do that." And he's like, "Well, I'm going down there and you're coming with me." And he's like, "Why would I come with you?" or whatever. And then Tom Cruise cuts his water bag because if he doesn't come with him, then he'll die of dehydration in the desert. And then they cut to a fight scene where they're fighting the native people who I assume were trying to, I don't know, maybe defend their homeland. And they have this big fight, and then the army finally shows up after there's like some explosions, and everybody backs off because they're like, "Oh, look at this like scary pit that we opened up," and it was the mummy's pit because they buried her far away from Egypt because she committed sins against her family, which is also kind of weird because Amenet, the actual mummy in question here, was going to arise to the throne or to the pharaoh, and then her dad had another child with someone else who was a son, so the son was going to take Amenet's place. So Amenet made a deal with Set, the god of death, and then went and killed that family and the child, and then the guards found out, and then mummified her. My question is, why do you need to, like, she slits their throats in the night with a knife? So,
Yeah.
like, why would you need to make a deal with a god to do this? Like, she's like going there. She has to, like, yeah, like commits her soul to it. I guess it wouldn't be a much of a movie if she just died. And they're like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So basically, her goal, Joe, is she's about to stab this dude after she kills her family because she made a deal with Set to get powers, and then she's gonna stab this dude with a special dagger. It's got this ruby gem in it, and then if she stabs him, this dude will become Set. He'll become the god of death. Right before she does it, the guards take her away. So now Tom Cruise is the new Set, or he's going to be. Like, she wants to turn him into the god of death. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of interesting, but it sounds like the setup for her isn't horrible.
It's
By the
fine.
sound of it.
It's better than what they did in the trailers, because I kept thinking that, like, she was like going to was going to rise to power, but then she's like, they said in the trailers she just got too power hungry and she just wanted to kill people. It's like, well, why would she kill her dad if she wanted to be the fair? Like, she just has to wait it out, like, she's waited out for a bit. But the whole having a son with another woman, like, to be the heir, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And the whole kind of Egyptian god stuff, I was like, that's cool. There's some really cool stuff. But they didn't really play it up as much as, like, the Imhotep stuff from the past mummy films, like the 1999 stuff. So, yeah, it's fine. Eventually, some crusading knights take, like, the red, is it the dagger or the gem? I think maybe both. And that's why they have to go back to England to get this dagger. The mummy, Amenet, wants to get that so she can stab Tom Cruise and he can become the new Set. So, yeah.
Okay, so Tom Cruise got infected and cursed how?
He's nearby the sarcophagus, and he's just near, and she kind of chose him just by, like, sensing him. So she made, like, a bond with just him. So after the plane crashes, he, like, wakes up and he's like, all right, I'm fine. And then Jake Johnson explains it to him later, like, oh, you can't die because she's going to make sure you live on because she needs you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They end up crossing paths with Prodigium, which is kind of like the shield of this world, which is run by Russell Crowe, a.k.a. Dr. Jekyll, a.k.a. Mr. Hyde. And they have a fun little fight scene because Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll can't control him for whatever reason the day that Tom Cruise shows up. He's got this, like, weird, like, he has to kind of inject himself with this stuff, and he ends up fighting him for a little bit, which is kind of fun. I enjoyed that set piece. During this time, the main female protagonist is trying to get in that room, and there's, like, a guard who's trying to keep her from it, and she hits him with a book, which is actually the Book of the Dead from the original Mummy stuff. She, like, drops it on the floor after, and they kind of shoot down to it. And I was like, that's a nice little callback, like, for fans of the Mummy. I was like, yeah, let's do more of that. But there's little to nothing, that has to do with Russell Crowe being in there, despite the fact that he's going to be, like, the through line for all these films. Like, he's going to be the guy, like, they police monsters, and there's, like, a bunch of, like, skulls of vampires, and, like, the thing from the Black Lagoon, like, swamp stuff in this lab. And he's kind of talking about, like, containing evil and destroying evil. So that's kind of what Prodigium's all about. And they do capture the mummy for a bit. It's kind of cool. There's actually a nice little moment where they talk to her, and I think Tom Cruise or I forget, or maybe it's the protagonist, the female protagonist lady whose name I forget. Somebody's talking to her and they can understand her, and they're talking about, like, oh, they're like, she's chained up, and they're like, you're a murderer, like, you killed these people. And she says to them in a completely empathetic way, she's like, times were different back then. Like, you did what you had to do to, like, survive and kind of go on. I was like, oh, that's cool. There's, like, a moment where I felt for Amenet, where I was like, I get it. Like, she, was kind of like, my future isn't secure anymore, and the only way to secure it is to get rid of this other stuff. So obviously that meaning her family, which is kind of rough. She probably could have just killed the baby, but yeah. Anyway, it was cool. I liked Amenet. She was cool. In a better film, she was the best, probably the best thing about the film, but there wasn't enough time with her, which is too bad.
Okay.
Yeah. There's another cool part that I really like. They're driving away at one point from her. She's kind of like in this rundown old church, and Tom Cruise is riding off with the female protagonist, and they're driving away, and he's like, I just got to get away from her. And she's like, you're kind of psychically linked to this person. How are you going to get away? And they look up, and I thought it's because she had teleported there, but no, Tom had just drove in a huge circle back to her. And he's like, oh my gosh, he's like, I can't get away from her. Like, he can't physically, like, run away. I was like, oh, that's a cool, like, little, like,
Okay.
intelligence. I was like, that's fun. They have a little fight There's a few fights throughout. Like she kind of breaks a bunch of glass in London and makes like the mummy sand face. Like and they eventually fight each other. Female protagonist dies. She's dead. And then eventually Tom Cruise gets stabbed or he stabs himself with the dagger. And then he becomes Set. Now here's the weird thing, Joe. Throughout the rest of this film, or the majority of it, Amunet goes around kind of like kissing guys and like killing them, turning them into mummies so they're her servants, which is kind of cool. He ends up murder kissing her, Amunet, to kill her because he becomes Set, so he has like power over life and death.
Okay, is he still his character, or is he totally taken over by the god?
That's the weird thing. So for the most part, it's just him. So like he goes back to see the dead female protagonist who he had some sort of weird, he had like a sexual encounter with before the movie, and they make jokes about it throughout the movie. Very strange. But he's like kind of like trying to shake her, wake her up or whatever, and then he finally kind of yells at her, and his face gets like all mummy like, and then she wakes up, and then he kind of like goes to a corner. He's like, you gotta get away from me right now. I'm not the same person. Something's different with me. And then at the end of the film, you see that he brought Jake Johnson back to life in like a human body, and like you can only see Tom Cruise like this much of his face because he's got like all this stuff on. And he says a similar line to the beginning. He's like, what's wrong with you? Don't you have a sense of adventure? And they both ride off into the desert together to do mummy things, presumably. Yeah.
Okay.
There's like one cool moment where like he gets strong enough, like when he becomes Set, he like fights her for like a half second. He like flies across the room and grabs Amunet and like slams her into like a wall, and you're like, whoa, like he's really powerful now. But it's not like Set has set in, as it were. It's I'm so sorry. I have to make a joke. The movie it had potential, Joe, and it was rough. That's all I gotta say. It was rough. It was rough. It hurt my heart. Hurt my heart, Joe. Do you have any other questions about The Mummy? I don't know if this franchise is even going to go anymore. Like the next one's supposed to be Bride of Frankenstein, which might be Angelina Jolie, but after this, I just don't know. Yeah, Johnny Depp is the Invisible Man, and like we talked about this.
That's okay.
Well, I just don't know if I want to see Johnny Depp, but maybe we wouldn't because he'd be invisible. Am I right?
He's fitting for something like that, though.
I guess I just don't know if I want to see like Hunchback and Phantom of the Opera. Like such weird choices for your monster crew. Like not really like Phantom's. He's just like a murderer with like a mask. Like I mean anybody could be Phantom unless he's got like phantom powers. Like they might give him like a ghostly, like he can kind of float and go through walls or be a creep.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird.
Do you have any other things you want to talk about with The Mummy? I guess I would just say wait until it's probably eventually on Netflix or Amazon, or I don't even know if I would say rent it. I love Tom Cruise, but he is just not great in this film. The best performances were from Amunet and from Russell Crowe, and like Amunet was still the best. Like Russell Crowe was just fun because when he went Eddie Hyde, he got this Cockney accent, and his face looked kind of weird, and I liked it because I was like, oh, he does like a 180 from Dr. Jekyll, and I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. But yeah, it was kind of, the rest of it was, it's fine. Just kind of meh. Not that great. So that's The Mummy. I'd love to hear other people's thoughts. Joe, if you ever do see it, or if anyone else does see it, please let me know. I just want to hear if you coincide with my review. Maybe I'm crazy, but it seems like it was a pretty rough time. A lot of it, people are kind of throwing the blame at Tom Cruise, saying that he had a lot of creative control because the director wasn't familiar with being a director of this caliber, or with this kind of movie, I should say, that's big of a budget. So also he was the writer from Star Trek Into Darkness, who also came up with the whole like miracle blood that can bring anything back from death. And so it's kind of like if you bring a game-changing / breaking element, like a character, Tom Cruise, who can bring anyone back to life at any time, the stakes aren't there unless he becomes the bad guy. Because as a villain, you can kill people and bring them back, and that's fine. But if you're a good guy, you can't. It's just like, oh man, they all died, and he's like, no, they didn't. Everybody just stands back up. So, yeah, I don't know. Joe, do you have any interest in seeing this film now that we've talked about it?
I do, to be honest. I mean, you covered some bad points or kind of stupid points, but you also covered some points that sound kind of interesting.
There's a good movie in here. It's just buried underneath a bunch of just kind of blah stuff. Like
bad shooting and poor actions or
well, just that,
dialogue.
and some of the characters are just so bland, just like so boring. It's just so. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a horrible, horrible film, but it's just not a great one. It's not even a good one. It's just, eh. I just walked out of the theater just going like, mm, mm. But yeah, if you go see it, Joe, you gotta let me know. You gotta obviously.
I more than likely will not go see it. I will
Sure.
probably rent it for $3 when it comes out. And if I go see anything, it'll probably be Wonder Woman again. So
That's a good call. Support the film. The one thing that makes me nervous, Joe, is out of all these monster movies that are coming out from Universal, that's the one that was the most interesting to me just on paper. And the fact that like Dracula Untold, which honestly, Dracula Untold, I think is a better film. I really wish they would just tie that one back in because that way they could say, hey, guess what? Like Dracula Untold, like that's still part of this, even though we said it wasn't, like just make it a part of that universe because you guys need something that's kind of good to get people back in. And I think Luke Evans is that guy. I don't know. Just saying. Think about it. Think about it, Universal.
yeah, you know what? When I think back to Dracula Untold, it was cool and all, but I don't think. I mean, that movie didn't deserve a great rating, and
It's like a 7.
Itself. Maybe, you know.
I just love a power fantasy. Anybody charging an army by themselves, that really gives me like a point or two in their favor. But that was in a trailer I think I saw, and I was like, no, that's like the coolest part of the movie.
So take Wonder Woman for example. Wonder Woman gave me chills. Charging an army by herself.
Wonder Woman made me cry. Like it made me cry, Joe.
Yeah, literally. So I didn't get that effect from Dracula. I don't know. I don't even know that the Mummy was the right character to get off on the right foot with.
Yeah, probably should go a little smaller, maybe. I don't know. I think they just want to go big. Universal
the
wants
Mummy
to go
is just
big.
weird. It's just a little weird. I mean, you could probably do a cool Egyptian style movie with monsters and mummies or whatever, but
even though the CG and stuff looks dated, I would say if you had to make a choice between the two, watch the original or just watch The Mummy from 1999. It's a little campy, but it's such a fun action adventure romp. And they actually do have some scary moments in there still, even though it looks a little dated. Like Imhotep kind of like mid-transformation is still pretty freaky. So I'd say go for that instead. And plus, you know what? I really like Brendan Fraser. I thought he was good in those films. He's fun. You know what? That's what you need. This movie wants to be like an action adventure thing, but also wants to be like a horror film. It doesn't know what it wants to be, and because of that, it suffers. So, yeah, which sucks because I love.
What am I? What am I?
Yeah, exactly. It had a crisis of conscience or just a identity crisis. It's like, yeah. We'll see what happens going forward. I don't know if it's going to break even. That's the big concern because it's kind of an expensive film to make, obviously. So, which again, one of the best parts about it, the sets and everything look great. The action and the effects look pretty solid. So, not all of them are perfect, but you can tell it's there. So, yeah. All right, Joe. Well, believe it or not, as much as I wanted to kill time with that film, I feel like
You've already killed too much.
It killed too much of mine. Maybe it should say dead and buried, huh, Mummy? Huh? Transition, Joe. What are we going into?
Oh, Timekillers.
That's right. It's time for Timekillers, the games we've been playing, the movies we've been watching, and the TV shows we've been viewing. Joe, I talked about Mummy and stuff, but I want you to tell me what you've been killing time.
Don't you talk about my mummy.
I'd never dare talk about your mummy.
Timekillers. Injustice 2. I picked it up. Jimmy talked me into it. Sounded like fun, and it surely is. Having a good time. I am maining. My mains are Atrocitus and Scarecrow.
Is that all? Those are your mains?
Best. Those are my mains. And I also toss in a little bit of Deadshot now and again.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you do, don't you?
I do.
Yep.
Those are the three that I'm strongest with and really getting the hang of. And Jimmy, you kind of helped me get better with Scarecrow. He's actually not the easiest to learn to use. And I finally figured out some moves and combos that are really helping me out.
But, and I'm proud of you because you're killing it. I think we definitely, there's been a lot of times where it feels like we trade off on matches a lot. So You definitely, and you played it. You were playing it like you just picked up on Friday, and I had it like a while before that, so I kind of had it and know the stuff. And you're picking it up really quickly. Would you say that it's easier to pick up than some of like you picked up the other Mortal Kombat like 10, wasn't it recently?
Oh, yeah, I picked up the most recent Mortal Kombat. It had been out for almost a year by that time, I think, but it was only like $20, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. I haven't played it since.
You just wanted to play as the Xenomorph.
I played as a Xenomorph a couple times. I think I played as Predator, and then I was like, this is all right. It's much more graphic.
Yeah, sure.
Which
Oh,
is
totally.
cool.
Totally. And I know that Sub-Zero is going to be in the game, and like if you win with him, like from the camera perspective, it like shows him like walk up to you and then like rip the head off whoever he's fighting, but just the camera angle, so it's still a T-rated game. And so he's like he picks up the camera and you're like, oh, they did like a little nod to like, yeah, we know that these games can't be this gory.
Yeah. He's like, you wish it was this gory.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is a fun game. I guess for me, I've been playing a lot of that too. Obviously, I've been playing Blue Beetle, Green Arrow, and Batman. Probably my biggest mains.
Yeah. So, word to the wise: if you ever play Injustice against Jimmy, and he chooses either A, Batman, or B, Robin, just put your controller down and let him kill you because it's inevitable.
I'm sure people could definitely destroy me. I sometimes I get in a groove with those guys, and especially Batman. I'm learning some new tricks, Joe, and every day I learn a new trick, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty fun. I'm
man, I tried to beat him with Scarecrow. He was Batman, and we kept playing at the asylum. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I had first couple matches, they were close, but he beat me all right. We had maybe one or two that were like down to the wire, like
for sure.
neck there, and then there were a couple where I just got off to a poor start, and I just couldn't get any momentum going. And I think out of probably like 7 matches, maybe more, maybe 8.
I don't know.
I still didn't win, but I take pride knowing that I got real close.
You did it.
I don't know that the levels, like your character levels, if they balance out or not. But
yeah, that's my concern too. I don't know. I have to look into it, Joe, because I know for the aesthetic look, obviously you can see the armor that we put on and stuff. But you'd think when I look at when we're in a match, if you aren't like I had like a level 14 Batman, it'll say you're level 14 Scarecrow. So I don't know if it just puts us at like base stats and then just like brings you to like, oh, what a level 14 and level 14 would be like at that level. Like obviously their stats would be different. Like maybe Batman has more strength and Scarecrow more ability, or vice versa, something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell right now. And so that way it's like, if that's the case, then if you almost beat me all those times and you're using a character who's like way lower level than me, I'll be like, well, Joe's just, I think, better at the game. I think I had a huge crutch. I was like, use the crutch.
I'm not one to make up excuses. You're a good Batman.
Well, you're a good Scarecrow. You're getting there, man. Mm-hmm.
I'm getting there.
Also, I know something we both have been watching, The Ranch, like part 3, The Ranch on Netflix.
The Ranch Part 3. Yeah, it's kind of mundane TV watching. It's like you enjoy it, but you don't have to think too hard about it. It's funny, and I do find myself laughing out loud once in a while, but sometimes it's sometimes it's almost like a soap opera. Like it wants to be considered way too serious for what it should be. And it's like, and they'll end it on like a dramatic, hard hitting note. And it's like, geez, I was just laughing out loud a few minutes ago. What happened? Main reason for watching it, I really do enjoy Sam Elliott. I think it's cool seeing him in something. And he plays his role all too well. But, it's kind of a 50-50 mix. Sometimes you're like, I don't know what I think. It's all right. And then the other half, you're like, I could keep watching this. Where's the next season? It's just easy. It's easy to watch and you enjoy it, So there's a lot of dumb humor in there, stuff that's, I don't want to say lowbrow, but just simple.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. So killing time with that. Killing time with I played some MXGP2 lately. I haven't played that in quite a while, so I've been getting after that. Killing some time on Sunday or whenever that was. But yeah. And trying to dabble in a little bit of Overwatch, because let's face it, when you don't play that for like a week, you miss it a little bit, and that says something about a game, man. It's been out for over a year now.
Yeah, a year and like a month.
Yeah, still my main game.
Critical Reviews Game of the Year for 2016. I have no qualms about that.
Yeah,
Nope.
I'm starting to wonder if it'll be Game of the Year for 17. Geez,
Well, I won't let it. But I'll be like, I'll take it off the table. Jones is like a write-in. He's like, Overwatch.
Sorry, Jimmy, nothing's topped it.
The game with Reaper in it. A side note, quick thing. I watched like the next season of Arrow. I've been catching up on all the CW stuff.
Bloodline.
And I was watching
Bloodline.
Oh yes, Bloodline. I still have to finish it. I have 2 episodes left. Oh my gosh.
Me too. I'm like midway through, and I'm like, man, how is this going to end? Oh, the only way I can see it ending is that they all go to jail.
Or they'll hopefully get off scot-free. That'd be great.
Really? Man, could you live with that guilt?
It's like watching Breaking Bad. I just want to watch the villain win. At that point, I've just been like the villain. Anyway, I'm watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Joe. And in this new season, they have a guy named Robbie Reyes, who is like a new Ghost Rider. Spoiler alerts for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. quick. Anyway,
Flip the switch.
Anyway, he has a little brother named Gabriel Reyes, and every time they say his name, I'm like, It's Reaper.
No.
Unfortunately, the guy, he's a bit younger and he's in a wheelchair, so it's not obviously the same. But
oh my God, I want a skin like that Reaper in a wheelchair with dual shotguns.
Like, gosh, what's wrong with you? I've made a monster. One thing that happened in the show though recently, this is another
hold on. I gotta interrupt you. Reaper, you're in the wheelchair, you're playing Overwatch, you're on a payload, you're on say you're on El Dorado and you're coming into the compound there where you turn the 2 corners and you're at the finish. You're gonna ghost teleport up to that top platform. You teleport and you're up there and you realize, why am I on the ground? The chair didn't come with me. Oh my God.
I am so sorry to anybody out there who has suffered from or knows anyone who's suffered from someone who also is in a wheelchair because of something. I forgive you for hating Joe. I do too. Anyway.
I mean no harm.
One other thing though, Joe, about that is that I was wondering, I was like, okay, they have Ghost Rider in this, world, but it's not Johnny Blaze. In this last episode I watched called like The Good Samaritan, the guy who is the new Ghost Rider, he has kind of a fatal accident where his brother does become paralyzed and he's dead, and this guy comes up to him and he brings him back to life, and they do a quick shot of him, and Robbie Reyes' Ghost Rider looks a little different than the Ghost Rider we know, but they cut to this other guy, this other Ghost Rider, and it looks like the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. I was like, oh my God, Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider is in the MCU. I think that's who it was. I was like Johnny, because that's like the OG. That's like the OG Ghost Rider. I was like, he needs to be in the movies immediately. I was like, come on, Ghost Rider, like pull into Infinity War. I don't care. Like put a chain around Thanos. I'd be like,
oh my God. You know what it would be like if they kept that under wraps and then all of a sudden people are going to see the movie and then all of a sudden freaking Ghost Rider comes rolling in, slinging fiery chains of death.
You know what I was thinking too, though, Joe? If they don't do it for that, he would also make for an excellent Netflix, like 8-episode like series, like Ghost Rider, just like the Punisher coming up. Like just do a Ghost Rider. Like he's not always Ghost, but when he goes Ghost, it looks pretty dang good.
Yeah, sure.
Joe, that would be.
He's a cool character that I feel like part of me is almost surprised that he wasn't put into the MCU before Black Panther. But I feel like the whole Nick Cage movies, the 2 that they put out for Ghost Rider with him, kind of maybe deterred the MCU from reaching for that.
Yeah, also movie rights too. I think they recently reverted to Marvel. There's some like rights recently that kind of went back to them, and I think Ghost Rider might have been one of those. Like I think someone else had owned the rights to Ghost Rider, and then they're finally just like, whatever. So maybe that's why they didn't put him in there, but maybe he's still coming down the line. If he's in the TV shows, there's always the chance, the potential for him to move into the stratosphere with a movie. That'd be beautiful. That'd be so cool. Anyway, a man can dream. My Ghost Rider Venom film or Ghost Rider Doctor Strange film. That is a movie right there. For goodness sakes, please. Anyway, Joe, we're moving on from
Jimmy.
Timekillers. We're moving into my favorite segment, community feedback and questions. I asked our Legionnaires what they thought of Black Panther, the new trailer. And we got a really good comment here from our buddy Fragadin. He said, flat out exciting. I think this movie will stand out like Winter Soldier did. As far as the trailer, though, I did not take it to be telling an origin story. I agree. He said if he had to guess, he thinks it'd be events happening between Avengers 2 and Civil War. I don't know. I was thinking about that. That's very possible because they kind of show Claw, that guy, Andy Serkis. Like, it seems like he just lost his arm. But they have Ross in there, Martin Freeman, who's from Civil War. Not saying that he couldn't be there beforehand, but maybe this will be kind of a flashback. Maybe it's going to be a movie that takes part in multiple time periods. I don't know. Joe, what do you think about it?
Well, does he really become the Black Panther until his father dies?
Well, technically, there's a chance he's been the Black Panther for a while. Like, he's been in training, kind of like a prince would be. So there's a good chance that's why he kind of knew how to use the suit. It wasn't like his first day on the job with Winter Soldier, and he's like, I'm just beating everybody up, which would be pretty cool if he's like, wow, I'm so strong. So I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that he's been groomed for this position. So it's not his first time, in that type of situation. So I don't know. It could very well be in between those two films, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it take place right after Civil War, especially with Wakanda coming into the spotlight.
I think so. I don't. Are we doing our predictions? Or are we still reading more off?
Oh no, that was just his thought on that. So.
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't know that the timeline thing may be correct. Time will tell.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now we got some good questions, Joe. This is from Night Warrior 29 over on Twitter. He says, if there wasn't any way you could stream or any consoles to play video games, what do you think you do to fill this void? Hashtag real life stuff, and I'm sure hashtag critical podcast. I guess I'd watch movies. Is that kind of cheating? I don't know if like reading books, or I'd get really good with my katana, maybe, and my throwing knives. I don't know why. It would just bring me peace. Just be really good with my weapons. Maybe take up some painting. I've always wanted to be a painter. I suck at painting.
If there weren't video games or consoles to play, what would you fill that void with?
Yeah.
Probably more exercise.
I thought that too. I was watching the behind the scenes stuff on how they're like getting Henry Cavill to be Superman, and like the guy who trained the Amazonians, I think, to be in Wonder Woman, and he also trained the guys to be in 300 in some of their training exercises. Like, maybe I just go just way into that. Just like, I'm just gonna get ripped just because I'm bored.
We don't see Jimmy for 3 months, and he comes back. He's just jacked out of his mind.
Hi guys. Welcome to this week's Critical Podcast. Everybody's gonna get jacked.
Bro, pause. Let me mix up my shake.
You guys ever heard of a finger pull-up? I just do it with just the one. Just put it up there. Good way to snap a finger.
But not mine.
Yeah. Bro. I don't know. I guess I'd also, if I had money, if it wasn't a problem and it wasn't an object, I would say maybe travel more. I would love to travel more, but hopefully we can do that with critical reviews. So
travel for me, but I'd probably invest more time in some cycling. I do that now, but I mean, the weekends, I like to have a little bit of chill time, play some games. But if I didn't have that, I guess I don't know, maybe go on a little bit longer bike ride. I don't know, but bass fishing, I'd replace it with bass fishing.
There you go.
Every day.
Good answer. Anna, our dear Anna, Acto Critical, hashtag Critical Podcast. If you could pick any lame superpower, what would it be and why? How will you use it? I didn't know what lame superpower meant, Joe. So thankfully, she and Look a Person have clarified. So Look a Person said the power to summon uncooked macaroni. Anna went on to say things like ability to keep yourself at room temperature just by thinking, ability to know anything that happened within a 5-mile radius after it had already happened, power to lightly jog without feeling tired, the power to speak to foods. That's a good one. The power to summon a single grain of sand, the ability to speak 5 useless words in every language without actually knowing what it means, Earth language, and extraterrestrial. Joe, to any of those extraterrestrial, I should say, is there any that jump out at you?
Do I have to pick from this list, or
no? You can make one up.
All right.
I think one is the power to summon a single grain of sand. I was thinking if I could control that grain of sand, I could do something. But it's like just like
I can control it. You summoned it. Now you can like shoot it through somebody. Wow! I just felt a pinprick. What was that?
This kind of reminds me. I had this idea a long time ago of a group of superheroes that kind of remind me of that. I forget, it was like William H. Macy and Ben Stiller were like these kind of knockoff, like not great superheroes. Like William H. Macy was like the shoveler, and like Ben Stiller was like the angry guy, and he just had to get really angry, but he didn't really have any powers. Like one of the characters on my team who would be in that, it was Mystery Men, I think, but would be Phobia Man, where he was fearless, except he was afraid about becoming afraid of other things. So like he wasn't afraid of sharks, but he was afraid of being afraid of them. So in that, I thought of one recently that I would really like. I would call him the Pillowmancer. So my ability would be able to manipulate and to basically move about one pillow. You know, maybe one day I could move multiple pillows, but this would be like I would be able to just like stop a person. I'd be like, you know, slam a pillow against their face. They'd be like, that doesn't really feel great. I just keep like that's how I'd stop crime. I'd go crime fighting with my pillowmancy.
You'd want to suffocate people with pillows.
That too, probably. It would probably come to that. If I was stopping crime, they're like, oh, we found a few other people suffocated by this ATM. I'd be like, I swear that they were stealing from it. They're like, Jimmy, just because they come here at like midnight doesn't mean they're stealing. This guy clearly has a card to this bank. I'd be like, I didn't know.
There's got to be some good ideas out there for me, Jimmy. I might need your input here. I do have one idea, but I think there's something better, I'm sure.
I could see you speaking to foods a lot and then saying things as you ate them. Like you'd be like, I just don't care. You know, yeah. Joe's like not having it.
Huh. I was going to do something with like my health. Like okay. I can make all foods good for me or something like that. Like I can eat the worst foods ever and they're good for me.
That's a good superpower, Joe. You gotta have a lame one. It's real lame.
Like I eat a tray full of brownies every morning, but I get thinner.
No. Like a lame one would be like you could summon, or you could at any time like create a crumb of a brownie, and then you could just and then it really tuckers you out. It makes you really tired. So like if you're like, all right, we're not going to be able to survive out here, we're going to need some food, and you're like, I'll try to make another one for you.
Sounds like I'm shitting out of the palm of my hand like a little brownie.
Of course, you take it there. Joe's been watching too much of The Ranch, everybody. That lowbrow humor is getting to him. You were the one who said brownie first. I just want everyone to remember that. Check the tape. Oh, gosh.
Part of it was the way you introduced it. You're just like...
It takes a lot of concentration, Joe. What do you look like when you concentrate? That's right. You never concentrate. What am I thinking of? Oh, goodness.
Little crumb of brownie. Yeah, I know. It was immature. I apologize, but I mean, as I think of it.
I can see you doing something with cycling. I would say you'd probably have a superpower that has to do with cycling. I
can always make the wind at my back.
No, that's a good superpower. That's not like...
I always say that. Like, yeah, on a good day with the wind at my back. It'd be my perfect superpower. Like every day would be a good day because the wind is always at my back.
I know, but that's too good. You're encroaching on storm territory. You're storm territory. Good.
So like if I could like automatically at any time I wanted summon a Diet Canada Dry Ginger Ale.
I guess that'd be but here's the thing, it's half empty every time and it's a little flat.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's all right.
Joe's like, I'm fine with that. Sounds good.
I'm fine with that. Sounds real good. I'll just put it on ice and chill it real quick.
Just chiller. No, but it can never get cold.
No!
It has to be bad, kind of. It has to be kind of lame. Another one that they said was what was it? Macaroni. You could do something with macaroni.
Summon uncooked macaroni at any time.
That's pretty funny. And he gives out like weapons, like people are like, I don't know what you're
macaroni throwing knives. I don't know.
I think another lame one would be the ability to put a really catchy song into anybody's head. Like I could just be like,
dude, I was totally just saying that or thinking that. I was gonna say something like, "These are getting to be good, though. These are good." Like,
that's true. You're right.
we should start blurring the lines, though. We should think of like the most annoying and just asinine superpowers we can think of. So like, what if you could, anytime you see somebody listening to headphones, you can control the volume?
Oh, that'd be rough.
Yeah. Like,
That'd be
what if
kind
you
of
could
mean.
just blast the volume and like, ah! And they throw their headphones off?
I think another one that would be good too is just make somebody sneeze like once. You can only do it once, maybe a day.
No,
that'd be like a really good way to get out of any problem.
Never ending.
No,
like,
you couldn't do that. It has to be lame.
No, you're in a meeting with your bosses and you're going over like your year-end review, and they're saying some things, and you're just like, I'm sick of this, and so you just start making them sneeze uncontrollably, and they just won't stop.
I think that's my supervillain for this mystery men style thing, is a guy who makes everybody sneeze, and then at a boardroom meeting he stands up and everybody just starts sneezing, and then he walks out and they all just keep sneezing and he's just smiling, and they're just like, and then you show up and you're like, oh, what happened? They're like, the CEOs, they're all just sneezing, and like the board members, they just can't stop them. Please kill me. Kill me. They're just like,
yeah, I want to die. Just
and then the Pillowmancer walks in, and I'm just like, all right, everybody get out of here. And then a pillow just floats in slowly. Oh my gosh. He teams up with someone who can give somebody hiccups, and they're just like,
one guy sneezes and he's like, kill me, please. And you're like, okay.
Yep.
Pillow on his face. No, we should make that a question for next week. We've kind of twisted this one and made it something more than what it was. Next week, tell us, what is your best troll superpower?
Did you look this up? Just make this up? That's good.
No, like, what's your best troll superpower?
Troll superpower. That's
my initial one was being able to control the volume of any headphones.
Sure, that's a good one. But not a lot of people always wear headphones, though.
Oh, like people at my work wear them and stuff. Like, can you imagine? They're just chilling, listening to some music. You know, all of a sudden you just freaking crank it on them. They're like, ah!
Does it work on hearing aids too? Because like, could you sneak into like a senior care facility and you're just like turn all of the hearing aids down,
and all the windows break?
Wait, what? No, you don't.
Oh, turn them up so they're just squealing.
No, turn them down. Turn them so they're just like completely deaf, and he's like walking in, or like, what are we stealing? And you're like, Jello. And why?
Oh, ability to summon Jello at any time.
That's a good one.
Pools of Jello.
Just pulling people up full of Jello. This is gross.
I like the sneeze uncontrollable one, or an alternative to that, similar hiccups.
Yeah. That's why the sneeze and the hiccup people would team up. They'd be like, what if we could get people to sneeze and hiccup until they
die? The same time until they die. At the same time. They'd eventually just start puking and like probably throw themselves off a cliff.
Like the president shows up at like, you know, whatever president we have in our world, and they show up on the like, or sorry, we've heard like a national outcry. People are sneezing and hiccups. They're like, Mr. President, like, call the Pillowmancer. I'm slowly floating in on a pillow. It's like the Black Panther music's playing, like the rap music.
Oh my gosh, I'm laughing too hard at
Seven Deadly Sins.
Yorin, if you are listening, I want to see Jimmy is the Pillowmancer.
The Pillowmancer, just like there's like a pillow that's probably a dirty pillow, just like flying.
Or Jimmy like an Arabian Sultan or something, sitting on a pillow floating around. I picture like a zenyatta with Jimmy's head.
Exactly, yeah, and I float into like the White House, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" I'd be like, "I was summoned by the president." They're like, "You don't have the clearance to be here." And I like look at them, a pillow just slams their face into the wall, fall to the ground. I'd be like, "Nighty night," and then I just like.
I just gotta say this. I mean, this is pure hilariousness. I have an artistic enough mind to envision this. And it's funny.
We're doing good work here. That's why we're getting this comic off the ground.
Tell them, Jimmy, next week, what do we want?
Yeah, we want to hear your troll superpowers. Please tweet at us at #CriticalPodcast. That'd be great. We have a few other quick questions, Joe. What game or games have given you the most painful feelings? Hashtag critical podcast from Oh Look a Person. I'd say I guess it's mostly emotional feelings. Which, Joe, have you played kind of any games that have tugged at your heartstrings recently?
Tugged at my heartstrings. I don't know that anything's tugged at my heartstrings. I think more than anything, I don't know. Whenever I play games, I'm a little more lighthearted, and I don't necessarily get that invested.
Sure.
It's not like Wonder Woman where I tear up, but
yeah.
I don't know. Has there ever been a game that really affected you in an emotional sense?
I would say two come to mind right away. Abzu was the diving game where you're kind of like a deep sea diver, and you kind of like weirdly enough, you can like swim up to like a manatee, and you can like swim on its back, and then you gotta dance with it. And there's like this shark that's following you around through all this, and it ends up getting hurt. And it's like kind of sad and emotional. But there's that. Life is Strange, really good game, like an adventure story game that's really emotional. And Night in the Woods recently, that one's been good. There's a lot going on in there. Everybody looks like an animal, but it's really truly about people, human beings, but anthropomorphic, still very effective. So last question here from Ryan Lehman, who was at E3. We got to talk to this guy, Joe. We got to have him on the show or something.
Yeah, that's something.
He's got video and stuff. We might have to make a video about it, but he said, do you think you're going to get an Xbox One X? Why or why not? I'd say for me, Joe, probably not until my Xbox has issues, and I don't have a 4K TV, so that's all I got to say about that.
I am interested. I have the 4K TV. I wouldn't mind seeing my games in 4K. I don't know. I'm interested, but I want to see. Have they released costs yet?
It's going to be $500.
Yeah, it's a little expensive. As long as everything remains compatible with Xbox One, I don't feel too much pressure to do it. But as soon as I start hearing a little more about it and experiences and more in-depth reviews, I don't think I'm going to be jumping at it until I hear that. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I'm interested. The Xbox One's still ticking and going strong, but we'll see if my viewpoint changes.
Sure. Is there anything from E3, by the way, that jumped out at you game-wise? I know I sent you some car, from the Crew 2 and Forza 7, where they showed off this brand new Porsche, and probably the wrong audience to show it to, because they're all just good Porsche.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. And it is cool that they bring the automotive industry and their marketing into the game culture. Yeah. I think there's a major target market for that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Forza, as they say it, Forza, wouldn't be as large a success. But Forza is great. Forza can get a little boring though. It's not like Horizons where you have all these different things to do and it's more open world style. Forza is you have all these real life tracks and you literally race, and it's more of a competitive, realistic simulator, basically.
Yeah. Well, what'd you think of the Crew 2? It kind of reminded me of Steep, but instead of having snowboards and skis, it was you can have a plane or a boat.
Yeah. The open world effect of the Crew 2 and the amount of different vehicles and terrains, etc., it seemed pretty unreal. And the quality was there too. I thought the quality was pretty well done. So I think there's a lot of potential with that game. I like that you can do air, sea, land, roads, tops of buildings, dirt, mountains.
Yeah, definitely.
The options are kind of endless. It's almost like a Grand Theft Auto without the third person shooting and walking.
What's the point? Am I right? Get out, let me shoot some people. But were those the games that stood out to you the most from what you kind of saw? I know you didn't see everything. I kind of just shot you a few things.
Well, I saw some information on that game Anthem. That looks pretty awesome.
Please tell me you'll play that with me. I just want to fly around with you. If we could fly together, Joe, I look over my left and there you are flying next to me, and then I think, wait a sec, he's not there, and you're down there fighting a monster, and I can just fly away from that. Maybe I could just be it's not my problem.
You got my 6, right? You got my 6. Jimmy?
I'm gonna do a sweet Iron Man like topple and slam down to the ground.
Yeah, very
Blow it up.
Iron Man-esque, I think. Open world, which is cool. I'm all about that game. I think it's interesting. Spider-Man, that looked pretty legit. I won't lie. I like the smooth flowiness of the gameplay that I saw.
Yeah, and it's kind of scripted, but I'm hoping we get to see some more open world stuff. But that's coming in 2018, so
yeah. Well, the storyline that they showed in that gameplay seemed pretty legit to me. I thought it was kind of cool, but just the flowiness of it and the attractive qualities, and the way Spider-Man could function and do things, that was cool.
It's a warm looking city too. I could just swing for hours. I'd just be happy just swinging about.
Yeah. So I like that, but yeah, definitely Anthem. The Crew 2 is interesting. I don't know. I gotta sit back on racing games a little bit. I think I have enough right now to keep my thirst satiated there. But my other thought is, for shooters and co-op stuff online with you guys, how long is Overwatch going to last is the main go-to. Well, I like having it around, and I don't anticipate it going away ever, but I need something else to mix in there often enough that I don't get burnt out on it.
Sure. Well, hopefully, we could find something in the interim, but, I know one game that Drew and I both talked about playing a lot. Maybe it's Destiny 2, and that's September. So when that comes around, that'll be something. And then it's like, hey, do you want to do like a strike tonight, or would you rather just go and play some Overwatch matches? So it's kind of like we can kind of bounce back and forth between the two. So
it's nice to have options, right? And we're going to be getting plenty of them. So
yeah, for sure. Especially one day, like next year in April or whatever, when Red Dead comes, hopefully we'll be like, Red Dead. What other game is there? There's Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. What do you guys want to play tonight? I don't know. Are there any options besides Red Dead?
No, they'll be like, actually, they just added a new cowboy like McCree in Overwatch, but he's got 2 pistols. So gonna offset that. Watch, it'll happen. There'll be like a lasso thing. I guess Roadhog already has a lasso skin for Roadhog. Anyway, well, there you go, Joe. That is it for the show.
Oh my God, a Wonder Woman Roadhog skin.
All right, I'm gonna cut you off right there.
Hook, he's got a lasso of truth.
Yep, and a classic Wonder Woman shotgun, and her love of gas, which Roadhog, like, what's it like the?
That's the funny part. It'd be like him in a clown suit, like he's got this little mini skirt on, and he's got like makeup on his face.
Wonder Woman has done such a good job of not objectifying or ruining Wonder Woman anyway. Joe's like, how about this? We'll get Roadhog from Overwatch, this big, sick, fat pig of a man, and we'll put him in a Wonder Woman costume. Sounds great.
It would be comical as hell.
I could see him wearing a Batman one, though, with like a little cape and stuff. Like he's like running around like a little cape. He's like,
see, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. I get what you're picking. I pick up what you're laying down. That's what they say.
I'm picking up what you're laying down.
Yes. Anyway, that's the show for this week. If you are interested in tweeting at us about any topics or questions that you want to hear on the show, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to either of us. You can tweet at me at the official Go Critical account, which is just at Go Critical, or you can tweet at me at JimmyGood013, or you can tweet at Joe.
Yeah, you can tweet at me at Lever_627. That's Lever, just like Beaver, only with an L.
Excellent. What are you holding? What was that? It was just because you're like holding the. Yeah,
I'm holding the graphic that's going to be right here.
There's a really good chance it's not. Well, yeah, it's going to be over here. Yeah. Okay, I think you're right. I was going to say it's going to be really funny if there's nothing. You're just like you just have a handout. You're like, here, what? Yeah.
Oh, and I wanted to clarify something before the podcast ends here. First of all, isn't this an awesome hat? A little bicycle on here.
Ash Ketchum-y Pokemon hat. I love it.
Yeah, but that's a bicycle, Jimmy, not a Pokeball. Anyway,
I know. Makes me sad.
I had to pick that up on my Ohio trip, and I don't know why. I'm totally ADHD in this thing right here. Anywho, this whole time for the podcast, I've been on the floor of my living room. So if you wonder why I'm like hunched over and kind of changing positions, my shoulders are getting tired, and yeah, I had to hardwire the internet connection. A little bit of some technical difficulties tonight with my router. So, but we got her done, didn't we, Jimmy?
We did, because that's what we want. We want to make the Legion happy. That's all we want to do. But if you want to see Joe or myself streaming anytime, you can check us out over on Twitch, twitch.com/critical reviews. I think /critical reviews. Check us out over there. And obviously, I do want to thank, I love it when Joe streams, and it's fun for me to stream. I'll be streaming a lot more back next week after I get done with kind of house sitting right now. But thank you to This Is Daleb and for our great theme music, and to Yoren Evers for our amazing art. And if you want some artwork with your beautiful face on it, and you want to be part of the Legion, you want to help support us, you want to support Yoren, you want to support everything we're doing here, all you have to do is you can throw us a buck over on patreon.com/criticalreviews. If you throw us a buck, $5, depending on your level, going up and up, you get your face on a cool outfit. If you're at a $75 level or up, though, you can completely customize it however you want. So if you're interested in supporting us, that's one really great way to do it. Thank you to all of our patrons who are doing that already. And if you can't do that, just share us with a friend. Really, seriously, word of mouth, reviews, sharing this, just posting somewhere saying like, hey, check these guys out. If you like these guys, you might like these guys, kind of thing. That is huge for us. So thank you for everybody who's doing that already. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Thank you, Joe. And until next week, which we will be.
Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we'll be talking about, but I'm glad to have you back. So thank you so much.
Glad
and remember,
to be back.
remember to adapt and overcome. I'll see you next time.